Deutsche Bank senior European economist, Gilles Moec. Thanks for joining us today. Is Europe behind the curve? Is it being dictated to by the markets?
Actually, on Ireland, I was quite impressed by the acceleration of the process. Of course, there was a big market pressure, but some of this market pressure was probably to some extent initiated by what some of the European players were saying, actually, in the media. German government, the ECB, lots of comments which were clearly going in the direction of trying to find a solution for Ireland. So in that particular case, I think there was a kind of parallel walk, if you want, between some of the European decision makers and the market.
But the issue hasn't been contained, Gilles, has it? Because just look at Spanish spreads, Portuguese spreads, bond insurance costs. They've risen in the last couple of days. Does that tell us it's only a matter of time before Portugal possibly asks for aid? And I mean, Spain, that'll be the big one if it does happen, won't it?
I think we can draw a line between these two countries, between Portugal on the one hand and Spain on the other. Talking about Portugal, the Portuguese government itself a few weeks ago said that it was kind of open to the possibility of tapping the rescue package. They hope that they won't have to, but they are certainly more open to the idea than the Irish government, or what the Irish government was just a few weeks ago. So yes, it's probably a candidate for this. Spain is an entirely different beast. First of all, it's much bigger. The kind of ripples that it would send to the global market would be in no comparison with what we've had with Ireland and Portugal. And the intrinsic situation of the country is quite different. I think that's something that actually the Turkish minister said earlier is immensely important. The market also looks at very simple things, such as, is the fiscal deficit falling or not? In the Irish and the Portuguese case, the fiscal deficit in 2010 is not falling. Yeah. It is falling in Spain. Same thing about banks. There are still some things that need to be solved, but in terms of dependence of Spanish banks on ECB lending, things have improved the last few months.
In the meantime, Gilles, the ECB is still talking about withdrawing its emergency measures. I mean, is this possible in such a climate?
I think that the ECB probably has to think hard about the kind of strategy that it is pursuing, because to some extent it is those discussions about the need to go fairly fast on monetary policy normalization which triggers this kind of financial market turmoil. And the idea was probably, at least in some segments of the ECB, to say, okay, we're going to ring fence some of the smaller countries, and then we will have a more, how to say, easy way to normalize, because the core countries are actually doing better. But if we see a continuation of the contagion, as we've seen in the last 2 days, very early days, but it could continue, then probably, yes, the ECB would have to rethink its strategy.
Gilles, thanks for joining us today. Gilles Moec there from Deutsche Bank.